the Cerebral Entertainment Podcast.
Hi. Hang on. Where are we at here? Oh, there we go. Okay. And boom. All right, we are rolling, sir.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to yet another riveting edition of the Cerebral Entertainment Podcast. I am James, and with me, as always, is my good friend Colt.
I'm here, sir.
How are we today?
I'm good, dude.
Yeah?
Another nasty day outside.
I can't believe all the rain. And it's like, it's been kind of intermittent. It's not constant, but it's still just, it seems like every time I turn around, it's raining.
Yeah.
Which gets in the way of a lot of things.
Have you thought about stop turning around?
I can't.
Don't do that anymore?
I can't.
Just walk straight lines from now on.
If you just walk straight lines, then there's no telling where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
You know?
I've actually been like back here caved in all morning.
Yeah.
Because podcasted this morning and then did some editing. And then you came over. And I was thinking in my head, well, I wonder what the chances is, because me and you normally go to the gym on Sundays after we lift. So I was thinking, I wonder what the chances are that James might want to go play disc golf instead of going to the gym today. And then you texted me and you told me you were here, and I go, and as soon as I open the door, I'm just raining outside. And I was like, okay, yeah. I think I got my decision on that one.
Yeah. Once again, every time I turn around, because disc golf is a thing now, right? It's this thing that we have now been sucked into.
So you say now, but it's been a thing for a long time. It's just a thing for us now.
That's what I'm getting at, though. I know it's been around for a minute. You know, I used to see those baskets. I might have mentioned this before, but I had no idea what I was looking at. I used to see those things like sitting around here and there. And I was, what in the hell is this?
Yeah.
I had no idea. Now I'm constantly looking for baskets because I'm like, that's where I can go play.
Yeah.
So you and I have recently gotten sucked into this disc golf game. And I would say it's nothing short of an addiction at this point. Mm-hmm. We are constantly talking about discs, and we were just talking about it earlier about how many different styles of discs there are. There's some numbers on there that denote the speed and the fade and the glide and so on and so forth. We're talking about stability. We're talking about this like we really, really know what we're talking about, but we're still just in the infancy of this addiction.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
We got a long ways to go, but it does suck you in. Mm-hmm. I'm sucked in. And I've got to tell you, I love the artwork on these discs, you know, and I know that when you're out there actually playing with them, the artwork tends to get worn off. You know, they get old, they get faded and things like that, but there's just a lot of different layers so far that I like about disc golf.
There's actually, I don't know what the company is, and there may be more than one, but there's companies out there that will put like pictures and stuff like that on discs that you want.
Nice.
And I've been thinking about that, like as far as like what we've got on these records. I'd love to have a couple of CEP records and a Raised on the Radio record and stuff like that, but on a disc. I think that'd be awesome.
It's a must.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me, but I never thought about that being a thing.
Yeah.
And so now, that has to be done.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where like I wouldn't throw it.
I get it.
Maybe if it was a putter. If it's a putter, I might be more, it might be.
Yeah.
I might have enough courage to throw it and not be worried about losing it. I'm to the point now to where I'm not necessarily worried about losing discs. If it's going to happen, more than likely wins involved, or just something weird happened, or you know what I mean. Like it just depends on the situation.
Like a tree jumps out in front of you.
That's happened,
yeah,
you know.
I know.
But I didn't lose it. I got it back. Luckily, somebody. I still don't know how that guy got it down. There's on the course that we play. There's two trees right off the bat that you have to throw through, and I didn't do that. I threw it up really high, and it landed at the very top of a tree.
Yes.
We threw a lot of rocks up there.
A lot of rocks.
We hit it a couple of times. I landed a couple of rocks on the discs in the tree.
Which was an amazing feat.
Thank you. Not exactly what I was trying to do, but, whatever.
Right.
And then, so I posted that on a Facebook group of people who play around here. And luckily, the people in that group are freaking awesome. Like most people, it's everybody like, hey, I'm going out to play at, here at 5 o'clock. Anybody want to join, and stuff like that. And every time I see that, I'm like, I would never just invite somebody random to come play with me. I'm sure people are cool, but I'm just like, No. I'm not going to just invite random people to come play with me.
I mean, it's kind of a social thing. It's a social event, to be honest. And for me personally, I don't know where you're going with that, but I also don't want people to know how badly I play yet. So I'm not just going to invite some random dude. He might get pissed off because I'm still back here trying to catch up to his drive.
Yeah.
And I'm on my third shot.
Yeah, that's something I have, and it's not just disc golf. That's just in me that confidence has always been a big thing for me. Like, I've never had a lot of it, and that's not a bad thing per se, but it's just a matter of like you're saying, if I don't feel like I'm good enough to play around somebody who's really good, even though it could benefit me. Like, you may have somebody who's really good that's just willing to just take their time to help you out and make you better, which could make me better. I just don't have, because there's always the other side of that could be, well, this guy sucks.
Yes.
I'm never playing with this guy again.
This is a terrible time.
Yeah, this is a terrible time. And I don't want to be the guy that makes the other person feel that way, right? But the downside to that is that I don't know at what point I would be confident enough to still play with somebody. Like, you know what I mean? Like, confidence is low in what I'm doing, but at what point is confidence high enough to where I feel like I could play with other people?
Yeah. Because
that feeling is always going to be with me, or that's going to be in the back of my head saying, you're not good enough to be playing with these people, so it's just a battle in my head.
At some point, you have to get out of your comfort zone, though. And I think it's helpful if, instead of a complete stranger who happens to be really good, you find somebody who you know is really good. That way, it's a little more comfortable that way, and they know what they're getting into. If I go play with anybody, I'm going to let them know right off the bat that I really suck. Yeah. I want them to be prepared, and they still probably won't be completely prepared for how badly I suck until they see it.
And see, that's the fight in my head, too, because it's like, I can tell you right off the bat, dude, I suck. I'm just going to let you know I suck.
Yeah.
But there's always that in the back of my head that's like, you tell them that, but they don't really know how bad you suck, and you could still surprise them.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that, well, I suck too. And you get out there like, dude, you don't suck. You suck. I guess it's relative, it's compared to others. But I think just in general, I'm still really new, but I suck pretty bad. But I'm getting better, and I'm working on trying to get better. And I wish we could play more. Yeah. But the addiction to the game helps with that, because I want to take the time. I want to be good at this game. Yeah. There's something compelling about it that makes me want to spend the time to get better at this thing that I'm trying to do.
Right. Yeah. Our buddy Jack Weiss, I've been talking to him quite a bit here lately, because he's engulfed in it too. He's like completely engulfed. Yeah. And he sent me pictures of like discs that he's bought and all this other stuff. But he was telling me that a pro came into town a while back. I don't know if it was a tournament or something, but he was this guy, as soon as he found out that Jack was a newbie, he just basically stopped playing on his own and just helped Jack the entire course. Yeah. It's like, that's freaking awesome. Yeah. However, also in the back of my head, I'm making this guy stop playing to help me, but I'm not really making him stop. It's just he decides to stop. Exactly. And instead of just being in the moment and being like, hell yeah, this guy's helping me, trying to make me better, it's just one of those things. But it's I don't know, it's interesting.
You're definitely not making him stop, though. I mean, he's doing that on his own volition. Yeah. And in that case, I mean, I'd have to accept the help, Yeah. I've even thought about going up and asking some people at the course where we play, hey, can you show me your grip? It's like, I want to get a better handle, literally, on the grip, right, on how I'm supposed to hold this thing when I'm, from start to release, because it's a thing. I can feel it when my grip is off, and it's something I've been focusing on. But to ask somebody that I think is, once again, at some point in time, you have to get out of your comfort zone, or you're never going to grow. Right. You can stay just. I'll speak for myself. I can stay just where I'm at and continue just to suck, or I can push myself and get around people who are better than me. Therefore, it's going to hopefully nudge me and force me little by little to get better and better, because I'm having to step up. Yeah. And I'm also gaining, hopefully, from their knowledge as well, because they're going to give me pointers. I learned just by watching somebody the other day when I was out Friday on the course, because I've been struggling with distance. And one of the things that I've learned is that I'm trying to overpower the disc. I'm trying just to explode and it's going all over the place. And when I'm lucky, I get a nice roll out of the disc. It turns up on its end and just rolls. Maybe I can get a good 25, 30 extra feet out of it.
Yeah.
But it's still not going. I'm not getting the distance that I see other people getting, and I want that distance. And I realized that my wind up is just it's stupid. It just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I just kept trying to throw the disc harder and harder just out of sheer force. And once again, it was ineffective. And so I watched this other guy. I don't think he even knew I was watching, but he has this really slow wind up.
Hashtag creeper.
Right? Yeah. I stalk a little bit on the course, but not in a bad way. I just want to watch and see what you do. And I watched his slow wind up and just a one step wind up, really slow and intentional. And his release was really smooth. And I saw he had just a nice glide, just good distance. And I said, that's what I need right now. Because I see other people who do have a pretty forceful wind up and they make it work. But I can't do that right now. I've got to work my way up into that maybe.
Yeah.
Right now, I just had to slow myself down, be methodical, and see if I can't get something else to work. And I'm seeing improvements. Inconsistent still, but I'm seeing improvements, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Then I saw these other kids. I call them kids. I saw them from a distance. They looked like they were younger. Throwing forehand. Dude, these guys, I don't get it. I don't even know how you do that. Because they were throwing it, and I mean, it was incredibly long distances that I'm talking at least my second, probably third shot on their drive. It was just amazing what they're doing with these discs. And I just don't understand how one does that yet. Because they weren't, we're not talking about super formidable guys. Like, you're not talking about big old, huge, strong looking people. These are just people, they're out there and they just know the technique so well that it works. And I want some of that.
I can't figure out a forehand shot or a throw. I just can't. Maybe in the 100 times that I've tried to throw a disc, maybe 4 times it's been not like wobbly like this, like that. It's actually and I didn't know any distance off of it, but it was more of like a straightish shot, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's smarter, and I haven't really talked to anybody to ask. I don't know if it's smarter to try to learn both at the same time, or if it's better to just learn one side of it, and then once you're confident and you can play pretty well, doing like a backhand, then try to start learning forehand. Or if it's smarter to learn forehand first and then go to backhand, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that the minimal times that I've thrown a Frisbee in my life, that still felt more comfortable to me throwing a disc that way than to try to go
forehand.
Yeah.
I've only tried it just a couple of times, and it was so awkward. It hurt, and I didn't want to do it again because I'm afraid I'm going to just mess everything up. So I'm sticking to my routine right now, getting better at the backhand, and just going to go from there. The only reason I shot at forehand one time was because I was behind a tree, and to get around this tree, I needed to go this way around that tree. It was kind of like my only option, unless I was just going to go straight through and lay up over this side of the basket, but it was still a pretty good way. So I wanted to get closer. Yeah, it didn't work. I hit the tree, and it just rolled wherever it wanted to. It was not a pretty thing. So I'm going to hold off on that for a little bit.
I would imagine that it's better to be able to have both of those in your back pocket, but depending on situations that you get in, because, just like golf, disc golf, you get in situations where one way would be better to get you out of this, get you out of it than others. I haven't ventured in to look and see if there's a lot of people who do both, or if people kind of pick one style and go with that for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's helpful to know both or to have both. You know what I mean? Like off of a drive, is it better to throw forehand or backhand? I don't know. I'll have to do some research and find out, but I would imagine just in general, it just depends on what feels best for you and what you get the best results from.
Yeah.
Right? Like, especially off of a drive.
Right.
Can I throw it backhand better or forehand better to get better distance, to get a straighter shot? I would think the most part, it's how it feels for you.
Yeah, I think it's subjective to the person. It just depends on what is the most comfortable, like you said, what gets the best results. These particular guys just so happen to be throwing forehand for distance, and then when they got closer for approach and for putting, backhand.
Yeah.
And so, which that makes sense to me, unless you're going around an obstacle like I mentioned earlier. it kind of made sense, especially watching them. They just had power like you wouldn't believe. It was crazy.
Did I tell you what I learned about the people who throw a disc like straight forward? So they'll take a disc, and I don't know if it's banned in like actual leagues and stuff like that, or tournament style or anything like that. But you would take the disc and you would set it, which people who are listening can't see this, but they would take the disc and set it on their hand like this, with their 4 fingers around the rim of it, and push it forward. And my nephew's really good at it. I mean, he makes like really good putts by doing that. And apparently at one point they made discs that help you do that. Like there's like 4 finger holes on the outside of the disc that helps you push that. But I think they banned that. I know they banned those discs. I don't know if they banned like being able to do that same throw with another disc. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I've seen some pretty impressive stuff by doing that.
Sounds like just kind of like a basketball shot where you flick the wrist, like a jump shot.
Kind of, sort of, but you've got to spin it too on the throw. Like you can't just push straight forward, or it'll just try to go straight to the ground. So you got to kind of push and spin at the same time to where it still has a little bit of lift under it.
Got you.
To go towards the basket. It's pretty interesting.
It sounds like a little too complex for me yet.
Yeah.
I think I'm still trying just to throw the thing straight. But that's
well,
cool.
You're on the course we've been playing is a good one to learn on, I think, and it doesn't take that long to play. But we do got to venture out and start playing some, because we've got another 3 good courses around here. Well, no, you played 2 courses because you have played the one up the road.
Yeah.
But there's 2 other good ones. One's really fucking hard, but the other one is pretty much more wide open, like what the one we've been playing is.
Yeah.
So.
And just to note, just because it's a fun fact, the one we play at does in fact have a warning sign because there are live bees.
There is.
And so there's that.
Uh-huh.
And it's right next to one of the holes. It's clearly states live bees not responsible for injuries. It's like, okay, that's weird because
they're in like that white
shed looking thing,
right?
I think so.
So if they get out, how is it not on them?
Because of the sign. I mean, all you have to do is put up a sign, and
isn't that weird though? Like not just disc golf or not just bees, like in general in life, as long as there's a sign stating don't do this, or there's a sign stating, hey, this is hot,
right?
Then you've covered your ass. You're fine. But if it's not there, you can get sued.
Right.
How? I don't understand.
I don't either. I mean, it's about giving proper warning to people,
Right.
The cup that says hot, that goes back to the lawsuit with McDonald's, where the lady spills coffee in her own lap. Yes, it's hot. It's coffee. And she's able to sue McDonald's because she didn't know it was so hot. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But because of loopholes and I guess good attorneys, ambulance chasing attorneys, I would imagine, she was able to win that lawsuit, I guess. That's how it seems. Regardless, what I do know is that McDonald's started putting that, hey, caution, this is hot,
right,
on their cups after that happened.
Yeah.
So I would assume this place also, figures along the same lines as everybody does. As long as you put a sign that says live bees, hey.
There was another story about a woman. I think she was driving a Winnebago. I think it was a woman, or it might have been a guy.
Yeah,
I don't
RV.
remember. I just remember the story. Driving a Winnebago, and they decided while driving down the highway to get up and go make a pot of coffee or something in the back, and they wrecked. And then they sued the company because there's nothing in any of the like driver's manuals or instructions anywhere that states you can't get up and go make coffee while driving.
Yeah, my understanding is that they put it in cruise control and thought that was going to drive the car, the RV.
Shit, these days we're pretty close to being able to do that. Actually, some cars do that now, don't they?
Yeah, we have some self-driving cars, but this was still, 10, 15 years ago or better.
It may have been longer than that, yeah.
It
was a while back.
It was well before we had any kind of self-driving mechanisms for our vehicles.
I haven't been in any self-driving cars, but my wife's new car does have, I think it's called lane assist, something like that.
Yeah.
To where if you get too close to the the line on the side of the road, it'll veer you back.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I do it. I'm surprised I haven't got pulled over yet because I do it on purpose just to test it out.
I would all the time.
Yeah. I don't ever go to the center line. I go to the right line because I don't want to, if it don't work, it could be an issue.
Works pretty well though.
It does.
There's you back.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's odd.
I mean, I just thought the backup cameras was sweet.
Yeah.
Now they've got all this other newfangled technology.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually seen a Tesla up close? Like, have you ever been in a Tesla
I
car?
haven't been in one, but they're popping up more and more here lately.
Dude, they're very sweet.
Yeah.
I know a guy who has one, and it looks kind of like a cockpit in an airplane or a spaceship or something on the inside.
Yeah.
You know how you have the screen always for your stereo and your navigation and whatnot. The screen in that thing is it's huge. It looks like a small, kind of like what your computer screen looks like there.
Uh-huh.
It's about that big, maybe if not a little bigger. And so it's got all these different settings and all kinds of whatnots in there. It's just a sleek looking car, and the electric car is really cool on acceleration because it just kind of takes off. You don't have to, the motor doesn't have to rev up. It just kind of snap and it goes.
Gotcha.
Almost like a slingshot, or like Mr. Freeze at Six Flags. You ever ridden that ride?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So how it just takes off. Yeah, that's kind of what the Tesla does, except it doesn't go in loops and up, up a big track and then turn around.
So Tesla is like the company that Elon Musk is part of, right?
Correct.
So forgive me if I'm wrong on what the exact words are, but did you hear about a guy figured out a saying that you can say that will automatically open the back hatch of the car?
No.
I'm pretty sure it was open bunghole, and that's a feature that's added into the car. I don't know how he found out, or if he was just randomly talking to somebody on his phone or something and said it or something like that, and then the back pop up. And so he found out that, I was thinking about it when I heard that. Do you remember back in the day, I don't know how much you played video games or anything like that growing up, but you used to be able to go to a store and get a cheat code book. And you could go home and it would have all the different games in it for PlayStation or PS2 or even earlier than that you wanted.
Yeah.
And you could at the beginning of a game just type in these codes that this book has in it, and it would do all these cheat codes to do different cool things. That's what I was thinking about when I was thinking about Tesla. What are all the cheat codes to open up this or to do this or whatever in a vehicle? And the fact that they can do that is amazing.
Yeah.
It's creepy, but it's amazing.
It's creepy because I don't want just anybody coming along and putting cheat codes in my car,
right? Yeah.
And doing whatever those things do.
Yeah.
I remember way back with the original Nintendo, right? I am that old. And there was a game called Contra. It was my favorite game on Nintendo, probably of all time. And it had a code that you put in right before when the credits were on, the opening credits. And this is, everybody probably knows this out there, but it's up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start. And that gave you I think it was 99 lives.
Okay.
And so when I first was able to beat the Contra game, I used the cheat code. And of course I had plenty of lives to do so. So it gave me that option. Later I figured out that I wanted to beat that game without the lives using the cheat code. Mm-hmm. And so that was the real challenge at that point in time, was to figure out the game without that.
Right.
So yeah, the cheat codes go all the way back to at least the original Nintendo game, which is pretty sweet.
Well, I mean, we're talking about vehicles and things that are impressive these days, but I think it was something on Facebook a while back, and it was something about I think it was an Apple car. I was talking about an Apple car, and just imagine you're driving down the highway in the new Apple or in the Apple car, and all of a sudden the notification comes out that they are putting out the new Apple car, and all of a sudden your car goes down to 30 miles an hour or something like that.
The battery dies.
Yeah. But you have to imagine at a certain point, if there's no volcano that takes the whole country or the whole world out, at some point we're going to get to something like that, to where just like our phones randomly update through Wi-Fi or whatever, we're going to have cars that are going to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Tesla to me is we're telling me that we're on the verge of that.
Yeah.
It's creepy, and I don't know that I'm comfortable with it.
I know that I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, our generation, we are which we're not technically in the same generation if you're going by the Gen X and things like that, but we're close. Our generation is the generation that got to see a lot of lasts, a lot of transitions. It's a crazy time that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the creation and the proliferation of these little computers that we use as phones now, but they're everything else. Have you ever seen that one meme where it shows this guy with like a boom box, and he's got a big camcorder, and he's got a telephone, he's got a calculator, all these different things, and the meme says this all is in your pocket now, on this one little device that we have.
Right.
It's like, so we got to see the end of, we got to see like this birth of the technology, the age of technology, the robotic age, whatever it's called. And we got to see like the rotary phones not come, but we got to see them like dissipate and go. And now kids won't even know what the hell that is.
Right.
You know, we've gotten to see the invention of the electric car, you know, and it's not like taking over yet, but like you said, if we're here long enough, these things are going to be the new norm.
Yeah.
And so I'm not comfortable with almost any of this, to be honest with you, when I really think about it. You know, we keep sharing memes about these robots that they're making that are either, you know, shooting guns or destroying something, or people are hitting it across the back and trying to piss it off, but it won't, it will point the gun at them, but it won't shoot the human. That's just a matter of time before it does.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
If we're here long enough, a lot of these things are going to come to fruition that are in our fears. And
which that's the creepiest thing, you know, like Joe Rogan talks about that a lot, or at least he did back when I used to listen to him a lot. But like, you know, being able to download somebody's consciousness into a robot, that's fucking creepy, man.
Yeah. And that's coming. You know, I don't know what form it's going to take. I don't know that we can actually download the conscious component of someone's mind into a computer, but I think they can at least mirror it and kind of maybe force the computer to become conscious in and of itself because of that mapping. Yeah,
it's like, I mean, Ex Machina is like the perfect, you know, representation of that, right?
Ex Machina is probably my favorite of those type of movies that's ever made. The other one with Johnny Depp, what is that movie called? I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's where he downloads his consciousness into a computer, and it proliferates across the network, across the internet, and he starts taking everything over and can make all kinds of crazy stuff happen. Like that is exactly representation of what we're talking about, is the actual uploading of the consciousness into a computer system and kind of the consequences that happen because of that.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. At least it's a good movie all around, but it's a great concept of what can happen, of just, you know, that whole process. So yeah, I think, you know, we're entering into an age where this is just going to keep going too. There's no slowing down of technology. That's the thing. I think it's what scares most people, and it definitely scares me the most, is there's no end in, there's no end goal.
Right.
It just keeps going and going and going. AI is just going to keep going and going and going.
Well,
and they say we're a long ways away from like intelligent AI, like able to actually just kind of be self-sustaining. But I mean, come on. I mean, time goes by pretty quick too. How long can it take?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the creepiest thing too is like, you know, it's not going to end. There's no end in sight, but I don't know. I guess what I was going to say is like what your point was. It's like, yeah, there's not really an end in sight that we see. And like you have, as it progresses, you've got people who are controlling all of that. You know what I mean? So like, of course, you know, they say you have a phone in your pocket, they're tracking you, they can track you, they can find you, they can do whatever they want, you know, because you're willingly taking this phone. What happens when a car gets to that? Right. You know, now what if a car is basically a phone? I mean, you know, it like I said earlier, you know, it downloads updates and things like that. Oh, dude, I just thought of that though. That's kind of cool. Like instead of having to take your vehicle to like the shop to get a recall done, they just do an update on your car.
It would be constant though, just like the phones.
Yeah.
Just like an iOS update. It would be all the time.
Yeah. My car. So instead of like years on our cars, it's going to be like the 12.4
right
or something. Yeah. And some people are still going to have like the old Apple car,
right?
You know, until they upgrade.
Yeah, the versions will be different.
And
it's all about the software. And
yeah,
some
but
hardware
you can't download the software until you get close to Wi-Fi.
Right? Yeah, yeah. That's why 5G is everywhere now.
And then you're going to wreck your car because you're going to get some kind of virus or somebody's going to hack your phone.
That's what I was going to say.
Or your car, I mean.
Is the hacking same diff, right? At
Yeah.
some point in time, what is going to be a little difference as far as the technology. But what about getting hacked? What about getting viruses, that kind of thing? And how do you fix that? How do you fix that threat? I don't know. Same with smart homes. There are people who have a lot of smart features in their homes. Smart refrigerators. You got smart cameras that link to your computer and to your phone, and all these smart devices. They even got smart washer and dryers. Just all kinds of crap that's just smart now. TVs, of course, and TVs that you can talk to, and it's just ridiculous. But what about getting hacked? When a system gets hacked, what kind of control does someone have over your cameras? And I doubt they care much about your washer and dryer, but over your computer, your cameras, your TV, they can watch you now. They can listen to you now. Whether that be a hacker, whether that be the government themselves, that's a real issue for me. That's a real threat. And at some point in time, I love my phone. Don't get me wrong. I went ahead and got the brand new Apple iPhone, not the most expensive, but the second most expensive. I never do that. I usually get a version or two back just because I don't like spending that kind of money. But I said to myself this time, I use this thing every single day for a number of different things.
Right.
For calls, for texts, for games, for research, you name it. The list goes on. And so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to invest in this because it's something that I use. It's a productivity tool, and it's something I use often. I love my phone, but the convenience of all this, technology, there's going to be a price for it. There is a price for it. We're losing our privacy for one thing. We've lost our privacy in a lot of ways, and we're losing a lot more day by day as far as I'm concerned. But I think there's going to be more of a consequence. And I'm not even sure what that means yet, but it just feels weird. It seems weird with all this convenience. Life's not supposed to be this easy.
Yeah.
And so you have to give up a part of, in my opinion, or maybe this is just a rabbit hole, but you have to give up a part of your humanity in order to integrate with technology to this degree. And I think that's happening right now. And I kind of worry about what that looks like for our kids' futures. I don't think we're going to see, we've seen a lot in our lifetimes already. And hopefully we have a ways to go in this life. And if we do, we're going to see a whole lot more change. But our kids, this is life to them.
Right.
They don't experience the change like we do.
Do they not, or do they? We just don't see it because our parents probably felt the same way when we were kids. Like these game systems that came out and TVs advancing and all that kind of stuff. Like for them, what we see, I'm not saying that technology isn't progressing a lot faster now than it was back then, but they probably felt the same way to us, and they were weirded out because of the same issues that we're thinking about.
I would say you're right to a degree, but I think the snowball effect of technology right now just way eclipses anything our parents have seen. Of course, most of our parents are still with us here, so they're still seeing the same stuff.
Yeah.
They've had a longer time span actually,
right,
to see, because when I grew up, even we still had a black and white TV, a smaller one in the bedroom. That was still a thing, a black and white television.
Right.
That's when I was a kid. Well, when my dad was a kid, that's all they had was black and white television, for a long time. He remembers when Gran and Pop first got their color televisions, and it was a big deal.
Right.
Right. So, of course, Dad's gone now. Mom's still here. But for them to be able to see that and then see what we have now, that's mind-blowing for them even more so. Right. And so I see what you're saying in that sense. My sense, though, is just that our kids don't know any different. And who knows what's going to come about between now and they might be talking about this same shit when they're our age. About, back when I was a kid, all we had was flat screen TVs. We didn't have this integrated device into our brains where we could just, project a screen in front of us by saying open bunghole,
right,
or whatever, and so who knows what they're going to see. It strikes me. And I do think technology is just on a runaway train track.
I still go back to the episode of Black Mirror where they have a contact that does a lot of different things, lets them see a lot of different things and stuff like that. And I just, for some reason, I'm picturing a contact, a contact that is connected to a device in your ear or behind your ear or something like that, to where that's basically you can get phone calls to it, you can do a video call through a contact in your eye, or you can hear through your ear, all those kinds of things, to where it's kind of like you're getting people up from their phones. Like everything is all people just like looking down at their phones now. Well, now you're going to take that away, but it's going to be like in your, in your head. And that was actually a different episode of Black Mirror, where I'm going to give it away. I don't care if anybody cares. Spoiler alert, I guess. But like, did you see the episode where the guy finds out that his wife's cheating on him?
Mm-hmm. He can rewind it back.
He can rewind it back, But like, there's they're sitting down at the table with friends and stuff like that, and there's like one guy that doesn't have the thing behind his ear like everybody else does, the chip or whatever it is. Everybody's like, well, how do you do that? Like, how does it feel to not have this and all this kind of stuff? But yeah, it's just to be able to record memories in your mind and rewind memories. That is freaky.
Yeah, that way, if you're in an argument with your old lady, you can literally rewind it back and say, no, I told you this is what I said, or you rewind it back and you're like, shit, she was right.
Yeah, if that came to fruition in my lifetime, I would just have to sit at home and sit on the couch and never move or do anything, because I'd have such high anxiety that people are going to be like have moments with me, and then they're going to be like rewinding to see what I did, or because at that point government's probably gonna be able to track all of those. That's gonna be like your phone now. So now it's in your head.
Right.
Now you're gonna be driving a car
in real time all the time.
Yeah.
An accident, like they're gonna be able to rewind your shit back and see whose fault it really was.
Right. Which we probably won't even have accidents at that point, because it'll be, I'm sure our cars will be controlled and driven by themselves.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, Black Mirror purports themselves as being
near
futuristic. So this is technology. This isn't coming just out of their ass. This is real technology that's in the works somewhere. At least most of it. Even Hollywood movies. A lot of that stuff that we see on there, we've always seen. It's just a matter of time before that stuff is actually hitting the markets. Chances are it's probably already in the military.
Yeah.
In different different labs and things like that. Elon Musk, no telling what he's got going on, a lot of different things, but who knows that we don't know about that he's doing.
Yeah.
He's working on what's the brain Neuralink.
I've heard of that, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, Neuralink is. I don't want to get into it because I don't know enough about it.
Okay.
But it's basically just chip in your head that you can control shit with. Without touching, and I don't know what all, but like, I don't know if you change TV stations or whatever just by thinking about it, but it's that type of technology.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And he's one of the ones, he's a leader in the field, and he's also one of the ones that's like, whoa, we might really screw things up with this stuff.
Yeah.
But even he says, along with a lot of other people, there's no stopping it.
Yeah.
It's somebody's going to do this. It's already in the works, and we're in competition with other countries, namely China. They're trying to build killer robots for the battlefield and things like that. So there's no way we cannot do it. And somebody's going to be doing it. Even if, we all got together and sang Kumbaya and said, let's just, we've been given this beautiful planet. Let's just chill and just live our lives.
Right.
And somebody's going to be out there stirring shit up and
sure.
messing up for everybody.
It's funny. I sent you a message yesterday because like I've actually got a computer sitting on my kitchen counter right now, because I got my new computer, and my old computer still had a bunch of music and stuff like that. I'm going to give it to my mom, and I wanted to go through and see what was on the computer first to see if I needed to like transfer it to an external hard drive or something like that before I wipe it back to factory settings and give it to her. Mm-hmm. So I get on there, and I didn't realize how much music I had. Like, there's a shitload of music on that computer, probably why it was running kind of slow. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking in my head, so all this music that's on here, like, to give anybody a point of view, the message I sent you was a picture, and it showed that it was going to take like 22 hours to get it all transferred over to an external hard drive, which it's done finally by now. But I was thinking, all of this music, probably every single song that is on here, I could go to Apple Music on my phone right now and probably find it and listen to it. But it's like, I think it's a nostalgia thing or something, or it's just knowing that I've got that music there that I probably won't ever think of, like, to try to find on my phone. You love that feeling when you pop in a CD from, 10, 15 years ago or something. You're like, oh, I completely forgot about that song. And then you throw it back on the rotation of music that you listen to and stuff. Mm-hmm. I could find probably everything there on my phone. But I still took all of it and put it on an external hard drive. And then at some point, like I'm probably gonna have to move it again to another external hard drive or something like that. I'm just going to keep on holding on to this. And I, like I said, I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing or what, but I could just have it on my phone. And at some point, that's probably going to be in our head to where you're just going to be able to find anything and everything that you want without having to even having a device in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
scary.
crazy.
It's scary.
Crazy.
On the music note, I think it is a lot of nostalgia, but I think it's also you are going to have some stuff on there that you can't find on Apple Music. And I would just, when you find something that you come across you haven't heard in a while or whatever, check and see if it's on Apple, because not everything is and not every version is. I've even had some stuff on my Apple Music that there used to be a particular version of, now it's gone. I don't know if they're just wanting you to, they probably figured, well, you need to go to iTunes and actually buy this instead of just streaming it from Apple or just downloading it from Apple.
Yeah, we had that conversation one time at the gym, and I was thinking about that. I don't know that it's necessarily like Apple. It might be distributor who distributes that out. And
yeah, fair enough.
Anything can happen with just a song or a whole record or anything where they have to pull it or or something like that. So
yeah, the distributor might want you to go to app or iTunes and buy it.
Yeah,
because that's the song or the version that's kind of hard to get, and they just don't want it to be out there for free. They want it to mean a little something more.
Right.
It's like going out and, I don't know, like buying a vinyl or like buying a special edition EP for from some band with some songs that you can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
Just kind of that same rationale.
Mm-hmm.
But just it's some crazy stuff here and there. Like, I don't know, I haven't researched it yet as to why, but even like Static X, their song Push It was all of a sudden it's blacked out from Apple Music. I don't understand why. But even more so than that, there are some versions of some different songs that are harder to get, hard to find, that I've noticed they were on Apple and they've been pulled. And that's torture for me, because one of them come up just not too long ago. I was like, oh man, I forgot that song, and I kept looking through my catalog and I couldn't find it. It's nowhere to be found. And I try to go and I search for it. That particular version, I can find different versions, but not that one. It's gone. And I hate that, because I loved that version of that song. The only place I can find it is I did a YouTube video of Jordan, Right Hand Robot, out doing some street art one day, and I put that song as the background to his work.
Gotcha.
And that's the only place I can find that song anymore. I don't know where it's at. It's just like it's off the face of the planet. So just weirdness like that kind of gets to me. So I would just advise, when you find something that's a little more maybe obscure, just something you hadn't heard in a while, double check to make sure it's on Apple before you would ever think about getting rid of at least that. But it sounds like you're going to keep that, however many gigs that was. What was it?
I don't
like
remember.
62 gigs?
Probably.
Maybe even
it was
more.
A lot.
It was a lot of gigs of music. I have a feeling that you're not letting that go anytime soon.
No, and actually, I think a lot of that music came from you. Because back when we were working together, you would give me several like MP3 CDs of a shitload of music.
Yeah.
And I probably haven't listened to most of it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like thoroughly gone through and listened to most of it. I mean, I've probably heard it, but not, so I don't know. It's crazy to think about, and just, things are progressing very, very, very fast.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that really anybody can do about it besides just try to move out into the woods and stay away from it as much as possible.
Yeah. You can do that. And that's a personal choice, and it's everybody's right. But at the same time, are you willing to make that sacrifice? Are you willing for your children as well to make that sacrifice for them, to keep them from the technology? Because I wonder about people, I know people personally who have, moved out in different state than this, but they've moved out into the middle of nowhere, literally living in a bus, at least for a while, and kind of checked out, my buddy, he's always posting pictures of his kids and things like that, which they're getting big now. One of them's grown, the other one's getting there. But I just wonder what it's like for them to unplug. And I know he thinks it's the best thing. And I do too, at least to a large degree. But I just wonder how that affects the kids in the long term, because they're going to be kind of unplugged in large part from a lot of technology in society. Right. I think at the end of the day, that's probably a really smart thing to do, because like you and I talk about, there's consequences coming to all of this technology, to all of this convenience, to all of this intrusion of privacy. That is in and of itself a consequence, but I think there's more to come because of that. I think it's just going to continue to snowball. And so being unplugged from the matrix in that sense, I think, is a very brave thing to do. but it's hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. You know, because the one major thing that I utilize is my phone, and it's a tracking device, and it's always trying to sell me things. You know, even though I don't necessarily go out and ask for it, and this is this thing that I'm willingly succumbing to. You know, and so I don't know how to do without it. I could do without TV. I could even do without Netflix, and I mean, to an extent, I need a computer for stuff like this, but man, the phone's a big one. It's tough. They got us hooked.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's just you or like you and your wife or whatever that decides, listen, I'm just not for this. Let's unplug. Let's move out to Montana in the woods and, you know, get away from all this. Let's use solar power and not have to worry about being on the grid and whatever. But when you have kids involved, I think it becomes a trickier situation because you're unplugging them also from all the progression in life, right? And so it can make, if they don't decide, I mean, you can raise them however you want and to believe however you want, and, you know, to think that if you're unplugged, you're not getting freedoms taken away from you and things like that. But if your kid grows up and decides not to really live the way that you lived, you're kind of making their life a lot harder on them for having to navigate the waters of life later on when they're adults and on their own. Right. And like, even as far as like jobs go and stuff like that, you know, if you're taking them away from what it's going to require to have a good job later in life, you know, they may, like I said, it's just taking a lot away from their potential, I think.
I think it's a shifting of potential to a different setting and to different tools for one to use. Because those kids are going to know how to grow their own food.
That's true.
They're going to know how to probably hunt their own food and forage for their own food. They're going to know how to build things for themselves. They're going to know how to, just survive. Whereas if shit really does hit the fan, technology is going to falter anyway, and we're all going to be in a shit can if you don't know how to grow a garden.
But yeah, and I completely understand that. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make is like, if you shelter your kids from all of that, what if shit doesn't hit the fan for another couple of lifetimes? So yeah, your kids might have learned how to garden and how to build things and all that kind of stuff, but still taking them away from all the progression that's out there. And like, if, you know, a good stable, like a good paying job and things like that could be at risk. You know what I'm saying? Like, if shit hits the fan, you know, when your kids get to be adults, then hell yeah, that's great. But if it doesn't, hopefully it just passes on to kids after kids after kids, generation after generation. And then when shit does hit the fan, now we can still live because we know how to do these things.
So, you know, and not to say that my buddy, his kids are missing out on any of this. You just used him for an example.
And I know
we kind of run off, taken off with it.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, and I'm not trying to badmouth by any means or anything like that. I actually think it's awesome what he's doing.
I know, me too.
I'm just trying to give, I guess, play devil's advocate on the bad things that could.
Yeah, it's a good discussion point. And so here's my thing, though. I think that, in a sense, from your perspective of what you're trying to say, you're still attaching all of the worth in that good paying job, where those folks might think that good paying job is nothing but a prison. It's nothing but keeping you locked into the matrix. Why would I care about that good paying job when I can fend for myself? This is a choice for them. It's an opportunity.
Gotcha.
It's not, well, we have to do this because, you know, we're stuck out here. They made this decision. They could have done and they have done many different things. My buddy and his wife, you know, they're educated. They've been, you know, she for sure. I don't remember what he did other than working with me there for a while, but you know, she was doing her thing as a professional. You know, she had a career. They chose to unplug and go out here and do this and raise their kids like that. And you can just tell by the social media posts that he does post, because he's not completely unplugged. He's not, you know, he still has the phone and he still has social media. Mm-hmm. That's how I can keep up with him every now and again. But he's not like engaged in like he's unplugged at least partially, right? As opposed to someone who just completely turns off everything, lives in the woods, and you don't hear from him again.
Right.
That's not the kind of unplugged that he did.
Yeah.
So, but he's not. I mean, you don't see him much on social media anymore. He used to be on there a lot more, but now I hardly ever see him except maybe on Instagram is where he's at mostly.
Yeah.
But,
I guess the thing is you have to find. You don't have to, but I guess just finding balance between the two.
Yeah.
I guess finding, and it kind of comes down to like happiness too, like what fulfills you in life and what makes you happy in life. So what I'm saying is, like, say they're his kids grow up to want to do things in the computer industry or technology or something like that. They may be farther behind, but that's what's going to make that kid happy, because that's what the kid wants to do as an adult, as a career, right? So that's what I mean. Like, but I guess if you're raised to be a certain way, you have those ethics and those morals, and that's, so maybe that would veer them away from doing that anyways.
I think that's right. I think you're going to bring the influence that you had, especially in your formative years as a child, adolescence, growing up. And so probably working on computers isn't going to be something they really care to do.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I think, whatever, perhaps another way to look at it is that their drive is going to be, their ability to kind of reach in and find motivation and drive, because what they're doing is not easy. It's harder than the way you and I live, and so they're going to be used to that. They're going to have that work ethic. They're going to have that, that sense of being able to do something even though it is difficult. And if they want to do computers badly enough, then I think that's what they'll do, and they'll bring that work ethic with them that could probably only, benefit at that point in time.
I'm in my mind, I'm kind of comparing it to like the Amish. Like when you grow up in an Amish family, you're not going to have kids that are going to want to go off and probably, be the owner of a tech company or something like that.
Right.
They know they know what they know from how they were raised, and that's normally how you just keep having kids, and generation after generation after generation, just that stuff gets passed down.
Yeah.
But you're still kind of off the map, off the grid.
Yeah, to some degree. Not quite as bad as I've never friended an Amish person on social media. I don't think their presence is there, just to note a difference. But anyway, even just not shit hitting the fan, but being able to build or to grow your own food. You build your own stuff too, but to grow your own food is huge. I've often said this. What if shit does hit the fan, and not completely, but Walmart's no longer a thing, and Country Mart closes down, and the grocery stores, you just don't have them anymore, or you go and inflation is so high, and it's $20 for a gallon of milk, something like that. If you can produce things yourself, you minimize the dependency you have on the system, and you can still be technologically savvy. You can still be plugged into the matrix to a degree, but the more self-sufficient you are, the less you have to depend on the system, the better off you and your offspring are going to be, the better off you and your family are going to be, because no matter what happens, you can still sustain. And so it helps to do some prepping. Yeah. It just does. It helps to do some prepping. I'm not the type probably that's going to build a bunker underground. I wouldn't mind having one, just in case. But what do I want to do if nuclear war happens and I'm in my bunker, we come out and everything's radiated and everything's dead, and I'm not sure I want to be around for that. I think I'd just maybe rather toast, and as long as I could be close to ground zero, I think I might prefer that as opposed to maybe not. But at any rate, the self-sustaining measures that one takes in their life, it's not just for the end of times apocalypse type of setting. It's to lessen your dependence on the system as we go. It can save you money. You have to work at it in order to save money right now. Like, it costs me more to grow a garden than it does for me to go to the grocery store to get food right now. But I've trained myself to do it just so I have the knowledge, just so I have that working knowledge. If I need to, I can grow my own food when times get tough. Right. And you can end up, if you do it the right way, you can end up saving your money, and you know that you're getting good food. It's not all sprayed with God knows what. And if you're really into it, like I'd like to have some animals at some point in time, kill a couple of deer every year, have my own cow and pig and stuff like that every year, to be able to butcher them. That way I know my animals my meat is not full of antibiotics and steroids and, all of those things that are pretty much changing our body chemistry and killing us and probably causing all kinds of cancers across the board. That sounds like a good idea to me. All of that does. Now, will I still keep my cell phone? Yeah. Am I still going to use technology to my advantage? Yeah. But I still would like to be as self-sustaining as possible.
The two things that go against that is that's a lot of work, and it's not convenient.
That's right.
That's the two things that people would be like, no.
Yeah, and that's why I say that there's a consequence with this convenience.
Yeah,
it is destroying our ability to survive in a self-sufficient way, because we are so dependent upon whatever system, whatever component of the system that we're relying on, whether it be for information. I can find anything on my phone. I don't have to go to a fucking library. Are you kidding me? I can find anything on there. I can get around with my GPS on there. I can call and text at the drop of a hat. It's just everything is so easy that if I actually have to do something that's inconvenient, well, forget that, right? There's no way. It's too hard. And even though it might be my survival that's at stake, it's too hard. If my phone can't do it, then screw it. I'm not going to do it. And I think that's where we're going.
Isn't it kind of crazy that libraries are still a thing?
Yeah, but I'm not sure they are. Are they? I guess they are.
Oh, are they not? I think we have a couple around us.
It seems like we have one in my hometown still.
I think so.
And one in my hometown as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess so. I don't know who's going there to do what. I mean, are you really going there to read books? I mean, it's probably still a thing. I mean, I still read books, physical books.
Don't you? Is it libraries that you go to get like public records and stuff like that, or no?
No, that's at the courthouse somewhere.
Is it just the courthouse that you go to?
I believe so. I don't know what's at the library. I mean, you can go and find like old newspaper. It used to be on microfiche. You ever use that stuff where it's on these little bitty micro thingies, and you put them in their slides. You put them in the thingy, and you can look through almost like a microscope, and it blows it up so you can actually read the newspaper. But it's actually about that big. Yeah, that's old school, man. That's been around for a long time. You never heard of microfiche? Wow. You didn't spend much time at the library, did you?
Sure did not, sir.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess you still have that kind of stuff. And they still probably have all, like, old newspapers from way back when, things like that.
Yeah.
If you're talking public records, like who owns this land and all that stuff, that's at the courthouse.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
But, I had something else on the self-sustaining thing, and I might have lost it. But at the end of the day, I think that we need to take even small measures to be more self-sustaining. And the more that we can unplug from the system now and pass that information along to our offspring, I think the better off we're going to be. I lost my original point. It seems like it was a good one too, but yeah, I definitely see the utility in that though, especially with the rise of technology.
Yeah.
And if something is hard and inconvenient, then that probably means it's worth the effort. Because life isn't supposed to be easy. It hasn't been up until just more here recently. The past 100 years or so, it's gotten easier and easier.
Yeah. And
right now, our dependency on the state, which is kind of where my idea was going. I can't formulate it exactly, but our dependence on the system is tied into the technology. That's how we are literally, like, in a sense, in the matrix now. We're plugged in, and we can't survive, quote unquote, without it. And I know where I was getting to also. See, and the military, I forget where I read this. I don't remember if it was just an all-out conspiracy site, but it seems like it was somewhat reputable. But the military is, they're always doing scenarios. They do scenarios like, what if this happens? What are we going to do? How do we mitigate this and that? And how do we, defend the country or the government, whatever. And so one of the big scenarios that they're working on now, and I believe this might actually even be public information from the military, is that the future is going to contain super cities, right? There's going to be a mass migration to the cities, like very few people, especially if shit hits the fan. There's going to be very few people left in the Badlands, the outskirts, the woods, And so the cities are going to grow and they're going to swell. Well, they're much more manageable that way. You want to centralize the population. You want to consolidate everyone. That way it's easier to manage everyone.
Right.
So all of your food sources and all of your vaccines and all of everything that you're going to need in order to survive in the world is going to be in the city. Everything outside of that city is just going to be hit or miss, and there's going to be a lot of either you're self-sustaining or you're not surviving and you're trying to get to the city. And in order to get to the city, you have to be completely plugged in. I mean, in a sense, you've got to be marked, right? I don't know if it's microchip or whatever, but you're going to have some kind of identification, some kind of even passport, but probably even go from one city to the next because it's going to be greatly controlled. And so if you don't want to buy into that system, you better be able to self-sustain, because if you can't, then the city is the only way that you're going to be able to survive. They're going to make sure of that. And from their perspective, it's by necessity. This is the way we have to do it. This is the way we have to manage because of A, B, and C that's happened. These circumstances have caused us to mitigate this crisis by consolidating everyone, and they're going to have their line of logic, and it's going to be very reasonable sounding. It's going to be very rational. But if you don't buy into that system, then you're screwed or you're surviving.
Which I guess a lot of people think that the beginning of that is the vaccination, the COVID vaccine, because you're going to have a lot of people who can't travel and things like that until they get the vaccine, and that's like the start of kind of the restrictions.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. Have you gotten the vaccine?
I have not.
You plan on getting the vaccine?
Not anytime soon.
Okay. And we don't have to go down this road if you think it's going to be too controversial or anything. I'm curious because I have not gotten it. I've had a lot of people tell me that I should, that they believe in it, and every other post on social media right now is somebody saying they just got their second vaccine or whatever. And I have friends and family who are completely against it, and I have friends and family who are completely for it and are trying to get me to do it. The biggest controversy that I've seen so far that I've dealt with is my wife being pregnant.
Yeah.
And I have other people in my family who are pregnant and did get it. And they were told that the antibodies from the vaccine would transfer over to the baby, so the baby would be born with the antibodies. Okay, if that's true, and that's cool. I'm not opposed to that. But our baby doctor straight up told us that there is not enough information out there for her to recommend my wife to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
So we've opted to not do it. Now she may change her mind after the baby's born. We don't know. We'll just see how things progress as far as the vaccine goes when we get to that point. But we've chosen, not to right now. So I'm just curious on how that goes. And then, the other thing I think I sent you too is that Johnson & Johnson just had to stop the production of theirs because there's apparently possibility of blood clots that people are getting from it.
Correct.
And that just goes back to me to, did they rush the whole process out? Were there not enough people who were guinea pigs with the vaccine for long enough before, they started shoving it down or shoving it out there into the public?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So, some people who are a lot smarter than me say that they didn't really rush it. It just seems like they did. To me, it seems like they rushed it.
Yeah.
And for me to want my wife to take something that feels like it was rushed and now people are getting blood clots from, which I know it's just the Johnson & Johnson version. I get that. But what's different about that one compared to the other ones if it's still fighting the same thing? I don't know. Do you know?
No, I don't. You need someone way smarter than me, way more informed on that than me.
Because I mean, that just doesn't make.
I mean, there's a difference that makes it a single shot versus a 2-shot too. Because the Moderna and the other
right.
is 2-shot vaccine. Johnson & Johnson's only 1, and so there's a difference there as well.
Gotcha.
And supposedly it's not quite as effective as the 2-shot vaccine.
Well, isn't there another one that they're giving 3 shots out now? That the 3rd shot's supposed to combat the variant of the COVID too? Because they're saying there's more different strains of COVID that's out now too.
Right, which is going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I'm not a scientist. I don't know for sure, and I might have said it on the show before. But when it comes to like the flu, I have nurses in my family who have told me the strain of the flu that comes out this year, that's the vaccine that you're going to get next year. Mm-hmm. Because that's what they're trying to battle something that's out now. But you can't just automatically put out a vaccine. You have to create it. You have to make it. Yeah. So next year, it could be a different strain of the flu out next year, but you're getting the vaccine to battle the flu from this year.
Right.
I have to imagine that's the same with like COVID. If they're saying that there's different strains of COVID, You're telling me that one vaccine shot can cover all of them? I mean, maybe it can lower your risk, I guess, and slow things down. But I don't know that it's going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it's,
that's exactly what they say, though. It's not going to completely avoid it. It does just slow it down.
yeah.
And you might, if you do happen to get the strain that was, from last year or whatever, the previous strain, then you're good to go. But these variants are always going to continue because these viruses are living things, and when they enter a body, they evolve. And so they're entering millions of bodies, and so it's this constantly evolving thing, passing back and forth from people to people as hosts. And each, I'm not a scientist either, so just a little bit talking out of my ass, but I know enough to know that over time this thing evolves because it just changes when it passes from people to people.
Yeah.
And also time, because it finds ways to still infest that person to try and make them sick. It still wants to do its thing as a virus. Like, it's got a mission. And so if this person's natural antibodies are fighting it, then it tries to evolve in order to overcome those, to fight back against those antibodies.
Right.
And so that's how viruses, things like that, get stronger. So no, that's how it works. But that's how it works with the flu shot too. I've never gotten a flu shot. I never have. I've never been, I've had the flu a couple times. I guess it was the flu to where it got me down pretty badly. But I'm talking like in 43 years, maybe 2 or 3 times where I've gotten that kind of flu. But I've never gotten the shot. It's not always just conspiracy based with me. Like, I also believe that the body needs to do its thing. But if I was the one of those people that got COVID like really bad and almost lost my life, then I probably maybe would have been wishing that I got the vaccine. But right now I'm not there, and I'm not down with, and nothing against nobody. If you feel like the vaccine is right for you, then that's right for you, and I'm okay with that. I'm not disparaging you, but don't disparage me because I'm not getting it.
Right.
This is about choice, and I hope that choice doesn't end up like causing a lot of problems down the road. Like, they're talking about vaccine passports and things like that. This identification where if you don't got your vaccine, you can't travel, blah blah blah. You know what? Fuck you. That's some real system bullshit right there. That's some real matrix shit. And if you don't think so, I've got a problem with you at this point in time. Like, let it be a personal choice. If you feel like the vaccine keeps you safe, then fine. You've got the vaccine, so therefore my unvaccinated ass ain't really going to hurt you because you've got the vaccine, and leave it alone. Because if you're one of those that's casting judgment one way or the other, then I got a problem with you. I got a problem with that. It kind of pisses me off.
Well, like with people who passed away before they were able to get the vaccine. That's the thing that sucks. So we're never going to know,
right?
If they did get the vaccine, would they still have died?
Yeah.
Would things still be as bad as they are?
Right.
And I'm just wondering and waiting for people who have gotten the vaccine to still get COVID and still, I'm not saying I want this by any means, but somebody who gets the vaccine and then, a month or 2 down the road, they get COVID and end up in really bad shape again.
Yeah.
I just wonder if that, and I'm sure the media will portray that as, this person's an anomaly because of this or whatever. But I don't know. I just, a lot of shit has happened in the last year very fast.
Yeah.
And, you hear all these stories of like people who died in the hospital but they were, okay. We may have talked about this before, but like everybody says that hospitals get money for all the COVID, like every COVID case that they get, right? That's a true thing, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's been a big thing as far as like everyone who gets it that goes to the hospital, all of a sudden the hospital gets more money for it. But if they die, or you could have somebody that dies from COVID, but maybe they had COVID, but that wasn't the reason why they passed away.
Stage 4 cancer.
It could be stage 4 cancer or something like that. Mm-hmm. And now the media is going to say, or that they died from that. So how does that work from a hospital point of view? Does the hospital, higher ups in the hospital, say if COVID is attached to this at all, that's what we need to mark as the reason for death?
I can't say for sure, but that's the word,
That just seems really shitty. Like, I understand, like, the last year has been insane, and hospitals probably need more money for because of all the COVID cases that have happened. I get that 100%, and I'm not downplaying this at all.
It costs a lot of money to care and to have all this COVID precautions.
Yeah, it does, and I'm not downplaying it at all. It's just, I just wonder, it's kind of shady and shitty on the other side of that if, you know, you're saying, okay, this person that had stage 4 cancer died, but they had COVID also, so we're going to say it was COVID, just so the hospital can get money.
Well, and once again, you know, if you're looking at it like this, like they're making this huge profit off of saying that, I don't know that they are. You know, maybe, but I don't know that they are. I think that with all the COVID precautions, I know it costs a lot of money for PPE, for, you know, special training, for people were sick, so they were having to call out, so they're paying overtime to others. It's just a whole lot of costs that are wound up into this whole COVID concept. But if they are just trying to break even because of all the expenses and they're using that, you know, it's kind of like shading on your taxes a little bit. Not that any of us would ever do that, but, you know, some people might claim this or that, or, you know, they might wait to, you know, cash in their 401k, whatever, because you're playing the system the whole time. Everybody does, you know, to some degree. This just happens to be on a large scale and it's tied to the pandemic. So I can see where your, like, the stigma of that comes from, like your negative, you know, opinion of someone who would do that. But there's a chance that it makes sense in the greater scheme of things. Like, for instance, if their costs are so high because of all the COVID cost, and the only way that they can even really keep their heads above water is to claim COVID for a stage 4 cancer or a car wreck or whatever's happening, because I've heard of both of those things happening. Heart attack, you name it, they tied it to COVID. If they could diagnose them at all, if they tested positive at all, then they would call it a COVID case. Then, you know, they're working the system as they need to in order to stay afloat.
Yeah.
You know, so I hear you, and there's no telling what kind of crap. I mean, I just heard, what was I listening to? I think it might have even been Joe Rogan, and he was talking to someone, I believe it was Joe, that they're saying now, like, higher up in the CDC, or no, it was the former president of the CDC, if that's the right title. It was the former head of the CDC, came out and said that it's not for sure yet, but in all probability, COVID came out of the lab in Wuhan. Like, this was not from a wet market of bat blood or whatever, something like that. This came out of a laboratory. Something happened. They don't think it's necessarily, or they don't think maybe at all that it was intentional, like someone let this out to see, you know, to try to kill everybody. But they do believe that in all probability, this came out of that lab. This was a big mistake, and now this happened, you know.
So how... Do you know how it was released from that lab?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And like I said, it's not even for sure. He just was saying in all probability. This is more probable than anything else that's happened. I mean, you got to consider this came out of Wuhan, where there's a known, I forget, level 4, I don't know, whatever it's called, lab, you know, very secured, that they're working on some very dangerous stuff, including COVID viruses, right?
I don't know. What is this? Wuhan? I've never heard of this before.
Wuhan is a place in China. This is where COVID originated. This is where all the cases. It's a province in China.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, and is that right? Is it a province? Wuhan, a city, whatever. It's a place in China. It's called Wuhan. This is where ground zero was for COVID, and there's a lab there where they were known to be working on the coronaviruses, including COVID. I guess I don't know how that works, but they were working on this in a lab, trying to, whatever they're doing. I don't know if they, you know, in doing that, they're trying to make vaccines or whatever the case, weaponize it. I don't know. But this is a lab where it was known to be happening, and that's ground zero. And so that the former head of the CDC said, hey, come on, let's be honest here.
Gotcha.
You know, this is where this went down.
Man, I bet those people make a lot of money.
Well, maybe.
Working on, like, well, yeah, I guess it is China.
Yeah.
So maybe not.
Right. Maybe. I mean, China, you know, there are some very, very rich people in China. And I guess the tide has risen there over the years that kind of raised all the ships there overall, at least, you know, for a lot of people, I should say. The people in the cities, probably.
Yeah.
There's still got people out in the countryside of China that look still, you know, pretty rough. I don't know if their quality of life has raised over the years as well as everybody else. But at any rate, so that's a crappy thing right there, is that because some asshole's working on something in a lab, this happens. We all get sick, and then this whole vaccine thing even comes up in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just a matter of time over the course of the planet, the life of the planet, there's been diseases, there's been, black plagues, there's been all kinds of stuff that has reared its ugly head and killed off numbers of people, countless people in the population. So it's going to happen anyway, but for someone to just be tinkering around in the lab and say, whoops, COVID got out, now this thing is happening, that really sucks. What the hell are you doing in there? Why are you messing with nature like that anyway, with viruses and COVID? Are you trying to do something good, or are you trying to do something nefarious, try to weaponize it? When it comes to China, they're probably up to something no good. Who knows? Maybe not, but it seems like they probably are. Bastards.
I guess. I'm gonna let you hang out on that branch.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay over here.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so try to stay healthy. I don't know. I'm not against the vaccine. I just haven't made the personal choice yet to do it. I don't like, and I've seen a lot of memes that they kind of make sense as well. It's all the crap we do put in our bodies, and we don't want this vaccine in our bodies. Okay, I get it. I can see the irony to some degree there, but it seems so forceful. It just seems so quick and forceful and unknown, and I'm just not a big fan of, the government telling me to do this thing and put it in my body. They tell me enough as it is already, and I'm kind of leery of it all. Not even trying to go down a conspiracy rabbit hole. That's just how I roll, man. That's just the way that my brain thinks.
Yeah.
And I've thought about getting the vaccine. Seriously, I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. And I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll see. I don't know. I take it from day to day, man. And as long as I'm not literally being forced, because of the job or anything at this point in time, then I still have time to make my own decisions.
Yeah, I mean, we're at an interesting point right now because it is still a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that it'll actually become not a choice, like that you're forced, but it's going to come back to what we said a while ago, like you're going to be prohibited from doing things if you don't, like traveling and things of that nature. So, you wanted to go to Mexico for vacation? Good luck with that if you don't want to get a vaccination.
Yeah.
So as I said, we're in an interesting point right now.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see over the next year or so how things happen, and does shit hit the fan because you have this rise of people who don't have a desire to get the vaccine or are completely against it, who are prohibited from doing things that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden all these people are rising up and making a fuss about it.
Right.
I can see it happening. I don't know if there's enough to make anything happen.
Yeah.
It seems like most people would just say, okay, I'll get the freaking vaccination if you let me go on vacation.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's that life's too easy convenience thing once again too.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it so convenient that we feel like it's better just to cave in, just to give in. If you're on the fence anyway about the vaccine, that's one thing. If it just takes you that much of a little nudge, fine. But if you feel like for real you have to be pigeonholed because you can't go to Mexico, or maybe perhaps because you can't go to watch a Cardinals ball game at Busch Stadium unless you got your little vaccine card with you,
Right.
If that starts to become the case, then our need for entertainment and leisure outweighs the standards that we held pretty dear up until that point. That's a problem.
Yeah, but also big not corporations, big business like that, like baseball or basketball or football or something like that, if it comes to that, they're going to rely on people getting the vaccination to buy tickets to come in there. Like if they have to limit people, like not like the limited capacity they have now, but like once they let everybody come in again to all the different things,
right?
All the different baseball games, let's say, that's going to be on, like the Cardinals are going to be.
It's going to start tearing into their bottom line if
Yeah.
not enough people are vaccinated.
Yeah. So what's that going to do? Is that going to inflate ticket sales? I mean, ticket prices and stuff like that because there's so many people out there who aren't willing to get the vaccine just to come and watch a Cardinals game?
I don't think so. I think we always have to keep in mind that this is the frog in the pot of water, right? You put the frog in there when the water's still warm, whatever, and then you slowly turn up the heat because as it begins to boil, the frog doesn't even think about it, doesn't know the difference, and that's our society right now. It's just a slow boil, and I can imagine that big corporations like the Cardinals or whomever, they're going to come up with some creative ways to make it cool to get the vaccine. They're going to make it like you've already seen on social media. It's like, you ain't cool unless you get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. They have their club, and that's okay. I just, just think of what if you put some really good marketing minds behind the idea that we have to be vaccinated in order to do A, B, and C, what kind of marketing schemes they're going to come up with to really, really make you want to get the vaccine at that point in time. Come and say hi to Yadier Molina and get your vaccine at the same time. He'll even give it to you. He'll catch COVID and then catch it stealing second and knock it out anyway.
there was a decent joke in there somewhere.
No, I couldn't develop it, man. It hit a brick wall. At any rate, it looks like we've gone well over an hour now. So
Oh, snap.
yeah, good stuff, man. Good conversation. A lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Left. A lot of gaping wounds, but we will address it as we go along during some future Cerebral Chat.
Or not. Who knows?
Maybe not. We might forget all about it.
I doubt it. Not in today's day and age. We're not going to forget about all this stuff.
Might be too busy gardening, or who knows? Might die of COVID. You never know.
Can we podcast and still put it out there for people to listen to, but still be considered off the grid? I don't know if that's possible, right?
I mean, you gotta put it out there somehow. So unless you want to,
we'll have to start another podcast called Off the Grid.
Yeah.
That only we listen to after we record it.
That's going to be a big hit. I can already tell.
I bet we get like a half a download.
Well, I think we'd probably get 2, but
you think?
Well, I mean, no, because we can't download it. We're off the grid. It's
Oh,
not gonna be anything to download it from.
Dude,
we're going to have to record it straight to a disc, and then just listen to it.
Actually, I think we can just record it to the mixer, and I can have a computer. I can still have a computer off the grid, right?
I mean, I guess
as long as it's not connected to internet.
Yeah, I suppose so.
God,
yeah,
this sucks.
It's gonna suck, right? That's why it's all about convenience.
We're gonna have to turn Amish.
You're a frog, just like me.
We're gonna have to go all in on the Amish.
Yeah. All right, we're out.
All right, out. Maybe.